Few of us have had any training or upbringing in how to tap into the power of our minds. In order to enter the world of real magic, you will need to learn how to go way beyond your rational mind and enter the dimension of spirituality. In order to participate in the high drama of miracle making and real magic, you must believe in your spiritual self, which has absolutely nothing to do with your religious affiliation. Once you have the experience of this invisible dimension and know this higher place that you can go to within your mind, you will have shifted from being an exclusively physical person, a human being having a spiritual experience, to a spiritual being having a human experience. You have the capacity to create miracles and live a life of real magic by using your invisible self to influence your physical reality. When you truly become a spiritual being first and a physical being second, and know how to live and breathe in this new alignment, you will become your own miracle worker. When you examine the lives of the most influential people who've ever walked among us, you discover one thread that winds through all of them. They have all been aligned firstly with their spiritual nature, and only secondarily with their physical selves. Without exception, all of our greatest teachers have been spiritual beings. They didn't limit themselves to the five senses in any way. All of the great teachers and doctrines, including Christianity and Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, Sufism, and Confucianism, have left us with a similar message. Go within. Discover your invisible higher self. Know God as the love that is within you. Becoming a spiritual being is synonymous with being a miracle worker and knowing the bliss of real magic. The differences between people who are non-spiritual or physical-only beings and those that I call spiritual beings are dramatic. I use the terms spiritual and non-spiritual in the sense that a spiritual being has a conscious awareness both of the physical and the invisible dimension, while the non-spiritual being is only aware of the physical domain. Here are 12 beliefs and practices for you to cultivate as you develop your abilities to manifest miracles in your life. Number 1. A spiritual being knows that there are other senses beyond the 5 physical senses. The non-spiritual being lives exclusively within the 5 senses, believing that if you cannot see, touch, smell, hear, or taste it, then it simply doesn't exist. As you work toward becoming a spiritual being as well as a physical being, you begin to live more and more consciously within the invisible realm. Hence, a whole new world opens up. Number 2. The non-spiritual being believes we are alone in the universe. The spiritual being knows he or she is never alone. A spiritual being is comfortable with the idea of having teachers, observers, and divine guidance available at any time. For the non-spiritual being, this is all hogwash. This is a physical-only universe to the non-spiritual being, and the goal is to manipulate and control the physical world in any way that we can. Spiritual beings know that they are not alone, and that they can use their own divine guidance to become miracle makers in their own lives. Number 3. The non-spiritual being is focused on external power. The spiritual being is focused on personal empowerment. External power is all located in the dominance of and control over the physical world. This is the power of war and military might, the power of laws and organization, the power of business and stock market games. By contrast, the spiritual being is focused on empowering himself and others to higher and higher levels of consciousness and achievement. It is true empowerment to know that one can live in the world with others who have different points of view and have no need to control or vanquish them as victims. Once you no longer need to dominate others, to acquire more stuff, or to control the environment around you, you will have shifted your focus from external power to personal empowerment. Number 4. The non-spiritual being feels separated and distinct from all others, a being unto himself. The spiritual being knows that he is connected to all others and lives his life as if each person he meets shares being human with him. When a person feels himself to be separate from all others, he becomes more self-centered and much less concerned about the problems of others. The spiritual being knows that we are all connected and is able to see the fullness of God in each person with whom he makes contact in his life. Being connected means that the need for conflict and confrontation is eliminated. Number 5. The non-spiritual being believes exclusively in a cause-effect interpretation of life. The spiritual being knows that there is a higher power working in the universe beyond mere cause and effect. The non-spiritual being lives exclusively in the world of the physical, where cause and effect rules. The spiritual being goes beyond Newton's physics and lives in an entirely different realm. The spiritual being knows that thoughts come out of nothingness, and then in our dream state, when we are in pure thought, cause and effect play no role whatsoever. Number 6. The non-spiritual being is motivated in life by achievement, performance, and acquisitions. The spiritual being is motivated by ethics, serenity, and quality of life. For the non-spiritual being, the focus is on learning for the purpose of high grades, getting ahead, and acquiring possessions. For the spiritual being, success is defined by aligning oneself with one's purpose. The spiritual being knows that living purposefully involves serving in a loving fashion. While the spiritual being will achieve and perform at high levels and even acquire many possessions, it is not the end-all principle that guides his life. Number 7. The non-spiritual being has no place for the practice of meditation. The spiritual being cannot imagine life without it. For the non-spiritual being, answers are sought by working hard, struggling, persevering, setting goals, and in competing in a dog-eat-dog world. The spiritual being knows the enormous power of the practices of meditation. He knows that meditation makes him more alert and able to think more clearly. For the non-spiritual being, this is perceived as an escape from reality. But for the spiritual being, it is an introduction to a whole new reality that includes an opening in your life that will lead you to miracle making. Number 8. For the non-spiritual being, the concept of intuition can be reduced to a bunch of haphazard thoughts. For the spiritual being, intuition is viewed as guidance, and this inner insight is never taken lightly or ignored. You know from your own experience that when you ignore your intuitive proddings, you end up being sorry or having a hard lesson show up in your life. To the non-spiritual person, intuition is often ignored or shunned in favor of behaving in habitual ways. The spiritual being strives to increase consciousness concerning their intuition. They pay attention to their invisible messages and know deep within that there is something working here that is much more than a coincidence. Number 9. The non-spiritual being hates evil and is determined to eradicate that which he believes to be evil. The spiritual being knows that everything that he hates and fights weakens him, and all that he is for empowers him. The non-spiritual being knows what he hates, and much of his energy, both mental and physical, is devoted to fighting what he perceives to be bad or evil. Spiritual beings do not order their lives to be against anything. They work for what they are for, rather than fighting what they are against. When you fight evil by employing the methods of hatred and violence, you yourself become a part of the hatred and violence of evil itself, despite the rightness of your position in your own mind. Real magic occurs in your life when you have eliminated the hatred that is in your life, even the hatred that you have against hatred. Number 10. The non-spiritual person feels no sense of responsibility to the universe. Therefore, he has not developed a reverence for life. The spiritual being has a reverence for life that goes to the essence of all beings. The spiritual being behaves as if the God in all life mattered, and he feels a sense of responsibility to the universe. Miracle-making capability comes out of a strong reverence for all life, including your own, and therefore, in order to know real magic, you must learn to think and act in ways consistent with being a reverent spiritual being. Number 11. The non-spiritual being finds himself laden down with grudges, hostility, and the need for revenge. The spiritual being has no room in his heart for such impediments to miracle-making and real magic. The spiritual being knows that all spiritual masters have talked about the importance of forgiveness. Forgiveness is an act of the heart. If you fill your inner invisible self with bitterness and revenge toward others, you'll leave no room for the harmony and love that are necessary in order for you to experience real magic in your life. And finally, number 12. The non-spiritual being knows that there are real-world limitations, and that while there may be some evidence that miracles exist, they are viewed as random happenings for a few fortunate others. The spiritual being believes in miracles and his own unique ability to receive loving guidance and to experience a world of real magic. The spiritual being knows that miracles are very real, and that the forces that have created miracles for others are still present in the universe and are something that can be tapped into. The non-spiritual being sees miracles as accidents, and therefore has no faith in his own ability to participate in the miracle-making process. These ideas, which I call the spiritual dozen, require very little of you. They are not difficult to do, nor do they require any long training or indoctrination on your part. They can be accomplished in this very instant in which you are listening. Regardless of how you have chosen to be up until now, working toward becoming a spiritual being can be your specific choice today. You simply have to decide that this is the way you would like to live out the remainder of your life. With that kind of an inner commitment, you are underway. It is most important for you to know, however, that being able to make miracles happen is fundamentally a result of how you choose to align yourself, how you choose to use your mind, and how much faith you have in being able to use your mind to affect your physical world. The ancestor to every action is a thought. Here are some practical suggestions for getting in touch with yourself as a spiritual being. To prove to yourself that you're more than a five-sensory being, write down all the things that you experience within yourself that are beyond your sense of taste, sight, hearing, smell, and touch. By keeping track of what creates your actions, you gain the insight that your actions are coming from something that isn't physical at all. To help you to experience yourself as a multisensory being, test the power of your mind on something that you perceive to be difficult. Visualize yourself doing something such as improving a golf swing, or not having a drink at a cocktail party, or jogging for a mile. Describe it in detail in writing or record it on tape. Do this several times and see if you can manifest the vision in your physical world. When you do, you will have broken through the limit of your five senses. To get acquainted with the reality of your invisible world, question the pure physical evidence reported by your five senses. Your senses tell you that the world is standing still and you are moving upon it. But you know that the world is traveling at dizzying speeds. Assess how much your five senses delude you about your own reality, and then ask yourself why you put so much faith in those senses. To make contact with divine or spiritual guidance, just for a day, suspend your skepticism. Give yourself a gift of a quiet place and a quiet hour all to yourself. Ask for assistance in an area that is troubling you. See if you can create an image of receiving help from a guide that cares about you and wants to extend love toward you. I can guarantee you that if you make this a regular habit, you will begin to go to this magical inner place regularly, and you'll receive the guidance that has previously been so elusive. What you will be doing is making direct contact with your higher self, with the divine intelligence that is always with you. To connect with the invisible dimension we call death, keep track of your dreams, particularly those dreams in which you were in the presence of someone who was in your life but has now passed on. When you're able to make contact with those souls in your dreams and experience how real they still are, you will see that aging and death are only realities for the five-sensory world. You will have an awareness of your own immortality, and you'll begin to know that those whom you've loved and who have passed on are not truly gone from your life. They are there and available for you. To extend your sense of guidance in your life, begin to know that you do not have to sleep to make contact with a soul. If you can connect with the higher dimension in your sleep, work at believing that the same connection, the same loving guidance, is available to you whenever you choose to recognize it. To find models and companions for your journey, read about the personal experiences of people you admire. As you do, look for the spiritual dimension in their personal journeys. Whether your heroes be athletes, writers, clergymen, musicians, artists, or anyone else, virtually all of the truly inspired leaders in their fields have come to a point in their lives where they felt they were being guided. They knew that they were not alone, and they began to trust divine guidance in reaching levels they believed could not have been achieved otherwise. To learn new ways of sharing, examine your behavior toward those people in your life that you feel a need to dominate or control. Be it a spouse or children or co-workers, whomever, take some time to relate to them differently by seeing beyond their physical form to the fullness of God that is within them. Once you begin to see past the physical body of those around you, you will begin to relate to the very same invisible force that flows through you and them. To practice a life without a focus on control, attempt to help someone do something for themselves where previously you would have instructed them how to do it. Replace the search for external power with genuine, authentic power, which is the ability to empower others to take control of their own lives. To demonstrate to yourself that you're not alone, picture yourself connected by invisible strings to everyone that you encounter. In this way, you will begin to treat others as if they are truly a part of you. You will have a tendency to extend love and help, rather than feel enmity and competition. To recognize how you've been taught to hate, make a mental note of all the people whom you regard as enemies. Realize that you've been taught to hate. Few people understand the simple message: the enemy is hate itself. Rid yourself of this hatred and fill yourself with harmony. This does not imply that you should be victimized by the ugly actions of others. What it means is that you do not have to have hatred and killing in your heart. To put yourself in touch with the non-physical universe, become comfortable with the concept of nothing. Your thoughts come out of the silent, empty space of your mind. From nothingness to a thought. Effect without cause in the purely physical sense. Miracles do not need a physical cause. Allow yourself to experience the something out of nothing phenomenon. To put yourself in touch with your non-physical self, remove yourself from the physical world for a brief period of time. Quietly, within your own mind, let go of each of your senses, as you do every night while you're sleeping. The more you are able to let go of your attachment to your body through your all-knowing, all-powerful mind, the less you will use your physical state as a way of assessing your life. To keep your focus on purpose rather than on outcome, keep your mind, body, and soul totally in the moment of your activity. In all of your activities, stop and ask yourself, truly, why am I doing this? You will find that the outcome, win, or the reward, is just as fleeting as the moment you participate in the activity. Stay on purpose in your activities, rather than focusing on the ultimate reward. To rid yourself of a preoccupation with valueless things, rethink your attitude about your possessions. Make an inventory of everything you own. Is there anything that you would die for in that list? Now think about your values, your ideals, your loved ones, and ask yourself the very same question. You know what your priorities are. They all have to do with what you think and believe, not what you own. Stay on that purpose, and you will find yourself automatically shifting to a spiritual focus in your life. To conduct yourself on a spiritual plane, begin living one day at a time, emphasizing ethics rather than rules. Keep in mind that some of the most despicable human behavior has been conducted in the name of, I'm only following the rules. The rules or the laws told black people to sit in the back of the bus. The laws said owning a submachine gun was fine. People who live by ethics have moved away from arcane, victimizing rules. Be that kind of a person for a day. Get yourself away from the rules and live ethically. To become more peaceful with yourself and the world, give yourself a quiet time alone daily for 1 week. This is extremely important and something that you will quite likely resist. Set aside 30 minutes or so to be alone and peacefully go within and quiet your mind. If you stay with it, I absolutely, emphatically guarantee that you're going to begin to discover a part of yourself that will provide you with all of the loving guidance you need in every single area of your life. To befriend and cultivate your intuition, treat those inner proddings that crop up in your mind as welcome guests instead of labeling them as nothing but random hunches. Develop a dialogue with that intuitive voice and simply note what you learn or what happens in the next few days as a result. The next time you have an intuitive notion, choose to follow its lead. To stay focused on what you are for in life rather than what you are against, inventory everything in your life that you are opposed to, and then reword your list to reflect what you are for. Rather than being against evil, be for love. Replace your being against your child's bad study habits with being for a self-disciplined young person. Remember that all that you fight weakens you. All that you support empowers you. To develop an empowering attitude towards yourself, restate everything that you dislike about who you are in positive, affirmative ways. Instead of being against your laziness, be for having more energy. By being for your energy, you will take actions correcting your laziness. This is true of all your so-called bad habits. Restate them in terms of what you are for, and you will automatically empower yourself to correct them. Spend some time every day in awe, in total, complete awe. Be thankful for your liver, your hands, your invisible, incomprehensibly awesome mind. Treat all of life with reverence and awe, and know that it is all working purposefully. A few minutes a day in total awe will contribute to your spiritual awakening faster than any metaphysics course you could take. To move past anger and bitterness in your mind, isolate one person whom you feel has wronged you at some time in your life. Now, just for a few moments, instead of feeling the hate and bitterness you feel, try to imagine yourself sending them love. When you're able to send them love instead of hate, you will not only be healing yourself, you'll be on your way to becoming a spiritual being. Remember the sage words of Buddha. You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger.